and welcome back to
Imperfect Parenting
with Ben and Brittney Serpell. That's
Ta-da!
it.
We made it.
Nice ending. Da da da. All right, Brittney, meme away.
You go right into it.
Why not?
Well, this is pretty much just the kid having a conversation with the mom. That's how this goes, and it's just words on a white and green background. It says, "Kid, Dad is so much fun. You never do fun stuff with us." Me, meaning the mother. I keep you alive. Alive is fun.
Alive is fun.
Yeah. Which, I mean, first story I think about is when Delaney nearly died with the bicycle.
I was there as well.
You knew I was going to say that one. That's because that's always the one that we bring up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Dads are meant to push the envelope a little bit.
And bring their children back with scrapes literally from head to stomach.
That's not what I said.
Oh, that's what I heard you say. And that when you said that, that's weird. It's like I heard you say scabs.
People are witnessing you say this right now.
They're witnessing me. They're hearing me.
Can I get a witness?
Can I get a what? Yes, it's true. Dads are. The story I tell that I got myself in trouble is when I was trying to be cool like the dad and take all the kids paddleboarding, and then something happened, and then I turned into not fun.
Not fun.
I was like, I can't do this.
Alive is more fun.
Alive is more fun.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, the quick story with Delaney is she got a brand new bike, and she was going around the neighborhood doing a great job. Like, we're doing it, honey. Look at you riding a bike.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bigger girl bike than she'd ever had.
She had just graduated to that, so that's why.
And so we're doing it, and there's this river trail by our house in Reading where we used to live, and beautiful spot. The hill is not that big to me, but to someone who's on a brand new bike. So she starts going down the hill, and I start running next to her, and she starts panicking, and I'm running next to her, and she's panicking more, and I'm running next to her, and she's panicking and looking at me and saying, "Dad, Daddy," and she's starting to wobble. And so, like any helpful father, I tried to slow the bike down. But by slowing the bike down, I stopped the bike. But she didn't stop, and she kept going over the handlebars.
Up and over.
And 3 blocks away, Brittney heard the screech.
Screaming. She's screaming, and I'm thinking, I'm going to kill him when I see him. He's going to die.
She said, alive is more fun.
Yeah. But she came back to me she had a scrape on her forehead.
Oh, gosh, it was horrible.
On her nose, on her chin, down her chest.
I did feel
on
terrible.
her rib cage. And then she never has gotten on a bike again.
Totally. I ruined it.
She's 18 and we could go to the beach and
Nope.
We were just in South Carolina and we got on these electric bikes and it was so much fun. And all of us and the other 2 kids were like, if Delaney was here, we would never be doing this. I'm like, that's right, because Delaney won't ride a bike.
Oh.
Alive is fun.
The bike had pegs, and so she kind of peels herself up off the pavement. She gets on the pegs, and she has to hold by her wrist because her hands are so bloody.
Yes.
And she's whispering in my ear because she can probably feel my shame setting in. And the guilt I have now. And the wrath is coming from me from her mother.
she could already feel the wrath of...
The heat was coming off of me.
Yeah.
And she's whispering, "I love you, Daddy." And she's in tears. She's in pain.
I know.
"I love you, Daddy. I love you, Daddy." She's like, "It's okay. I'm still gonna be your daughter." It's funny now.
It is funnier now. Yeah, she would still say the same things. "I love you, Daddy. I love you, Daddy."
She would.
I mean, it does feel a little bit of appropriate story leaning into our topic of when you've got parents that have 2 different viewpoints to their approach to parenting, which we've talked about marriage, but I think the dramatic, even belief systems to parenting makes things harder. So what do you do when you've got 2 different ideas ruling the house?
Yeah, and I would even start this conversation with, I think every couple comes in with 2 different ideas, 2 different cultures.
To some degree, yeah.
2 different experiences. They grew up in different houses. So at some level, we often navigate this, but there's often big extremes that we're talking about. So, we've had lots of conversations with couples who are, one's saved, one's not.
Yeah.
One believes in what we might call the loving on purpose way of parenting, and someone else is more punishment mindset or very, very different extreme to the parenting style they're working on. So there is this consistent theme that it starts with. You are bringing 2 different playbooks.
Yeah.
2 different code books, Dan Failey would say. and you have to work this out. And I think a lot of couples do. A lot of couples work this part out, but some get past the threshold of marriage, get into childbearing years, and still haven't worked it out.
And some of this is your parenting styles,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that comes into play here. We were speaking somewhere recently. I don't know where, because we've been all over lately. But afterwards, after we taught the parenting style and you taught a little bit about marriage, I had this couple come up to me and say, we have two different styles, but the husband said, I don't know how to be present in our parenting style because I don't even know what I need.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm almost afraid of that authoritarian that's going to come out. I'm almost afraid that I can't navigate this well. So he's taken such a passive approach to their parenting. And then her approach is very protective, very passive. And so he feels like his kids are out of control, but he doesn't know how to jump in. And she feels alone, but she doesn't know how to let him have a different viewpoint because hers is more protective and passive, and he was aggressive, but he doesn't want to be the aggressive because he grew up with that. So he's like shutting it off. But I see so much of that. So they're having this conversation with me, but they can't figure out how do we have a united vision because I'm afraid to show up and she's not sure how to make space for me to show up. And it just was interesting because if you can't figure out how to share this role and how to get to the core of what each other needs in your different approaches, then you won't ever have a united vision, and there's just constant tension.
Yeah. I think it's a really important point that you're hitting on there. I shared this the other day in a meeting, and I had a few people tell me that was really helpful because that's what I've done. And it's a story really of needs that started with us. Mm-hmm. That goes something like this. We were teenagers and frustrated. You were attempting to share your needs with me. I am attempting to stay alive and don't know how to meet your needs, nor do I have any. And so there's this frustration brewing and growing and getting crazy. And so like any mature teenage couple, we walked inside your parents' house one evening and said, we would like your permission to break up.
Mm-hmm. Naturally. That's one
which is just so funny. And so, you know, that's normal, right? That teenagers ask permission to break up.
I don't think so.
So to fast forward through this story, the real point of it was, your dad asked me this question right here is, Ben, what do you need? Mm-hmm. What do you need to feel in this relationship? And that started a whole conversation and really dramatically changed my life.
Yeah.
But there's this part where he said, what's been happening is you both have a yard. That's your yard to tend to. And in that yard, you're planning your needs. And when you plant that need, the other person, it's their job to come help tend to it with you. But it's your job to bring it to the surface and make them aware of it. She said, well, Brittney has all these needs. She filled her yard. So she just knocked the fence down and started filling Ben's yard too.
That doesn't sound like me. I don't know what you're talking about.
So he just said, like, this is a common thing, I think, is we haven't even figured that part out, what each other need. That's really going to actually bring into focus the goal and where we're going and how you feel safe around me. Mm-hmm. And so we have to actually have this conversation and have it successfully. So if it's finding help or reading a book or a book I love right now, it's called People Fuel by one of the guys that wrote Boundaries book. I think it's John Townsend. But it's such a great tool to help you identify what you're needing so you can bring that to the surface and then get on the same page.
Yeah. I mean, when I was talking to this couple, the hard part is that he's expressing, I'm watching our kids and I feel like they're out of control and they need more structure and they need more discipline, but she experiences that as punishment. Mm-hmm. And so I'm listening to him talk back and forth, and the hard part, and I think that happens a lot of times, is there was this accusing of the spouse's intention and heart, even within their need. And they didn't really have the dialogue to break down all these pieces. And so that was the part that I was like, okay, you've got to figure out, like, how do we walk away from, I'm assigning some kind of accusation, some kind of blame, some kind of intention to the way that you're parenting. Okay. is you're not ever going to get the best from that spouse.
Yep.
You're, like the early days of our parenting, I would tell you, you're trying to hurt our child. You're trying to, create risks that's unnecessary. Like I'm almost trying to convince you and myself that I believe that you want to do harm, which if I were to accuse you of wanting to hurt our child, you would be like, what? Are you crazy lady? What are you thinking? But this is back to those differences is, if you can't identify the needs and you can't communicate with what it is that you need from each other in your approach to parenting, then someone's always going to feel powerless. Yeah. And then if you always make assumption that their need is wrong because it's different than yours because you're searching for this place of agreement, again, someone's always going to feel powerless. And you're either going to have someone that's shut down and disengaged or someone that's fighting tooth and nail to stay relevant and valuable in this relationship, which is that's marriage problems. That's what you're asking for right there.
Right.
And that's just not going to go well.
And I think the helpful reminder that we bring up in different ways all the time is that I only control me. The way Danny's been saying it is control your freaking self. Stop being a control freak.
He does like to say
control your freaking self.
It's true.
But it really is true. Is I only control me. So I don't know what you're going to do with our kids. And I want to have that conversation. And I actually want to understand where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. Not so we can just agree, but understand where you're coming from. And then look for that place of shared vision.
Yeah.
And shared goal. But after all that, I only control me. Mm-hmm. So I am creating my own culture with our children, and so are you.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's the same one. But
yeah.
if not, I do control my culture. And I think what we watch all the time, what we've seen, is the person who's chosen the healthy version, if I can put it that way, the person who's chosen to live from connection and create this kind of culture around them. The other person typically is going, what you have over there is what I want. I don't know how to get there. I feel like maybe I need some adjustments. Can you help me?
Sometimes they don't ask that nicely, though.
No, sure.
Which is, I feel like that humility piece,
yeah.
Your willingness to be humbled and addressed. The other thing that people ask, when do I get to ask this question of the way you're treating our children feels hurtful.
That's great.
And this now becomes a us problem between the spouses because your disrespect and exchange of shame and punishment, I don't want anyone treating my kid this way, let alone the other parent. So how do you navigate that conversation?
Yeah, and this has to come back to, I'm not going to tell you about you. I'm going to tell you how this is impacting me. The impact it's having on me more than, let me tell you all the things you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
Because that won't go well at all.
No.
But I think knowing where that line is, when all of a sudden the culture that you're creating, you're building with our children, is beginning to make a mess in our house. Mm-hmm. So it's going to sound just like you said most of the time, like, hey, I'm feeling scared that the way you're treating our kids is not producing what they're needing. Mm-hmm. I'm scared that they're actually becoming scared of you. I'm concerned they're becoming scared of you. There's some things I need. Are you ready to hear that? Can I tell you what I need with our children? Mm-hmm. But there's some opportunities for deep, hard conversations. But this person's not going to know the impact it's having unless you tell them.
Yeah. I think about when, we have lots of, probably more women that listen to the podcast or stuff at Love and Purpose. We have a lot of ladies. And they want so desperately their spouse, their husband, to engage with them, to read the book. Like, I don't know how many conversations I've had. I read, I listen, I'm telling, he's trying. What would you say to the dads in that space? Because the thing I see that happens with wives in this spot is that they're trying to, like, in the kindness of their heart, but they're still using manipulation. You know, like, here, listen to this podcast. You should really do this. I think you struggled with this. Like, I'm trying to give you feedback that you didn't ask for. So how do I, from a man's perspective, like, how do we do that better than maybe what is happening? Because there's this, I don't know. I don't know that it's working in the efforts, but I do feel like women do seem to cultivate this culture in our homes. Like we kind of are these cultivators. We tend to the garden, you know, and you know, I think the husbands in some sense are the ones that, you know, help move the dirt from one. You know, you kind of help with the grunt work of things, but we are tending. I need to rearrange that. I need to, the sun's blocking that, or, you know, there's shade. I need to do different things. Like, I feel like that's what ladies tend to do, which is why I think they find us here. It's like we're kind of culture massagers, if you will. How do they have a conversation with a husband that I wouldn't say is angry or doesn't care at all, just doesn't know where to start?
Yeah.
And so the feedback of you're doing it wrong, or here's one more podcast to listen to, here's one more message of you suck. How can we do this better?
Yeah, or one more message of this is how you should be doing it, and change, and feel like getting forced into doing something. I think when men feel like they're forced into I have to, they're like, no, I don't.
Watch me not
do that. Yeah. I think men have this desire, and we want to be the hero in the story. It's built in. It's a good thing. It's meant to be there. But learning to bring that thing towards, I want to tend to my wife's heart. I want to tend to her heart, and I want her to feel like the most important part of my life, and I want her to feel protected and pursued and partnered with. Mm. And so make that the goal first for the men. And then listen. And I think there's two questions here. The first one you're asking probably is, how can the women talk to the men? Mm-hmm. The second one is, men, how can you listen to your wife better? Mm-hmm. Which is listen better than she's talking. She's probably frustrated. She's scared. She feels alone. But she's trying to get somewhere, and she wants you with her. And you don't want to feel forced into something. So I think for the ladies, it's going to be an invitation of, there's things you have that I don't have. There's things that you have as the dad here and the husband that I need. And when you step in with that strength, something changes in our environment. What do you need from me to feel engaged? What do you need from me to feel invited? Because this is us. This is not me as the parenting mother or whatever. Mm-hmm. This is us as a partnership. So I think highlighting that hero piece at some level of, dads, there's things inside of you that when they show up, it adds the element that's needed. You know, we told a story, I think in the last episode, the last time, talking about, you started a conversation with the kids, and they were starting to dismiss you. And
mm-hmm. I was trying to tend to the garden. Yeah. And I couldn't move it, so you like, came in.
Come here. Come move some dirt. Yeah. And that we didn't have that early on. Yeah. I think we didn't have that enough trust or something. So that's the first thing, is to build some trust and connection with each other. But because you turned around and you said, I need some help, I'm like, I got it. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing a different part of the equation that's needed right now. Yeah. So, men, you are needed.
Absolutely.
And the message sometimes that is received, not necessarily sent, but the message that's often received is, I'm not needed. They haven't figured out. And when I attempt to jump in and give something, it's not received. So I'll just stay over here, and if you need some dirt, let me know. But otherwise, I'll be sitting over here. Yeah.
I love the perspective. I love the idea of the hero. I think that ladies, we probably need to do a good job of speaking the truth in love, which is that I need you. I miss you. Yeah. You're valuable. What you add is crucial. How can I help that come to the surface? Yep. That engagement might be a different response from your spouse. And again, the goal is to identify what we need, so we can get on the same page. Because likely what's in our heart is the same goal. Yep. we're just having very different ways of getting there, and it's causing too much friction because we can't see that we're both trying to go the same place.
Yeah.
So, great stuff. Love it so much.
I'm encouraged.
Yes. All right. We'll see you next week.